I've been a loyal customer for MyProtein for years and years, and then just last night I put in 5 kilograms of their chocolate brownie whey protein into my basket, and I saw the price, it was £90. And I put in the best discounts possible, so I've used Dave Train's discount, woohoo! And at one point I thought, you know what, I've been paying them for years and years and years, product's not getting any better, and the prices have nearly doubled in the last 2 years. It's just insane. I understand there's a cost of living crisis, but at some point I thought, you know what, let me take a look, what else do we have here? And I came across RawSport's whey protein. Now it says grass-fed. First of all, I just want to get this out of the way. It's grass-fed, but because it's so low in fat anyway, it won't really make a difference. But the positives I guess you have is the fact that the cow, at least, you know, has been treated properly. It's probably better environments that they're kept in. So you have that little added bonus of just sort of, not exactly guilt-free, but you have an element of, you know what, where my protein's coming from, the source is actually, the animals aren't sort of in horrible living conditions. I'm not saying MyProteins, the sources they get it from aren't, but it's just nice to know that they are being fed properly and something nutritious, as opposed to just cows that are just fed. It could be any feed. Now, before we do the taste test for it, I think it's important to compare this brand that I found online to many of the mainstream brands. So you're looking at bulk powders, you're looking at the Protein Works, you're looking at MyProtein, of course. First things first, I think the ingredients on this are really, really good. So I have tasted this actually before, just earlier, but I'm going to do another taste test and give you guys a breakdown of the flavor, or what kind of sort of flavors I'm getting throughout the actual drink. I don't really drink my protein, I normally eat it with oats and stuff, but for you guys, I'll do it. So we're actually looking at very minimal ingredients, right? I can actually list them out to you now. So you got grass-fed whey protein concentrate. We know what that is already. Cocoa powder. So it's actually raw cocoa powder, and that's for the chocolate flavors only. And then you have a bunch of other ingredients that would apply to the other range, the other flavors. So in this instance, grass-fed whey protein, cocoa powder, and we're looking at sunflower lecithin, and grey sea salt, and natural flavour, and sucralose. So it's very, very minimal compared to, let's say, bulk powders, where you got xanthan gum to make it thicker. And I think the MyProtein Impact Whey Protein, you have things like soy lecithin as well as sunflower. So soy can sometimes be a bit like sort of heavy on the stomach. Now, I'm not saying this is the next best thing to sliced bread or whatever, but we have a ingredient profile that's quite minimal, and actually it says it's been lab tested as well. And also what I found was I compared this to the brands that are sort of mainstream, that are selling out there, just to see like what is the cost effectiveness. So if I'm paying a bit more, that is fine. I think I just didn't want to be extorted by a company, if that makes sense. I mean, it's just more of a case where it didn't align with my sort of morals and ethics, where I know cost of living crisis is a thing, companies are struggling, and even like RawSport, these guys, I'm sure they are a small company, they're a very small company, but it's more of a case of I don't want to give my money to a company that just wants to hike prices up for no reason. Because think about it, these guys have been around for forever, right? I remember since like Gymshark days, they've probably been around from since then, and the infrastructure would have gotten so much better. I know they're supplying to a lot more countries, but the hold they have on the industry, the supplement industry, must be crazy. And for them to be able to charge prices this big, I just didn't feel like it was probably where I want to put my money into it. Especially when I'm looking at the ingredients. You should be health cautious. Obviously, I'm a health channel, right? Where we look at gym, like bodybuilding, training and everything. And when you see an ingredient profile that potentially that is better, so slightly lower calories as well for the same amount of protein. So you see an ingredient profile with a lot less processing, why not pull the trigger? Okay, so I done a comparison for prices. This was like the best deals you can get on each protein. The RawSport Nutrition, the one that we're comparing today, basically they have a deal on right now, and I've seen it a few more times before in the past. I've just never pulled the trigger. And what it was, you get 2 bags of protein, 1 kilo each, and the third one is basically free. That brings the 1 kilo value, if you divide it across by 3, £16.67 per kilogram. MyProtein, with the discounts and everything, was working to be about £19, around that number, because obviously your discounts may vary. Protein Works was slightly behind with the pricing, so they were about £18.70 per kilogram, and bulk powders was slightly cheaper, and it was coming out around £17.10. So realistically, there's not a huge difference in the pricing within all of them, right? There's only a few pounds here and there, and I did confirm with you guys earlier. I said we think so much about price when we're looking at shoes, headphones, mobile phones, new car, but when it comes to nutrition, some people just want to go out and buy the cheapest thing possible, when that's the thing that's going inside your body, right? But in this instance, like I say, you have to look at the overall picture. So for me, it was a case of, okay, minimal ingredients, looks quite clear. The nutrition profile, the amino acid profile was really good. A bit on that actually. Histidine, I said per 28 grams was 5.39. That is really high. So I messaged them actually, I'll show you a screenshot here. I got an email, I sent them, I said, this looks a bit high. I mean, what's going on? Because you don't want to be buying something super cheap, or even if it's expensive, if it's been amino spiked, you know, that whole thing that happened a few years ago. So yeah, no, they reassured me that it wasn't that figure. The real figure is going to be on screen now, I forget, but it was more in line with what it should be. And they're going to make those changes on the packaging and website. So that's fine. So yeah, you've got to look at the ingredients, what you're putting in your system. So like I say, with the bulk powder protein, like you've got food coloring in there. Like what purpose does that serve? You don't want to be eating random rubbish. I know we already eat so much rubbish that's processed, but obviously if it's health and you're going to pay similar amount of money, get something that's better quality. One thing I can review right now is going to be the drink. So with that being said, let's test the milk chocolate protein powder, because I think that one's going to be the most popular. Okay, so I've got my raw protein in the MyProtein shaker, because whatever, that's the one I use. I like the mini ones because it can just sort of go anywhere. Okay, right off the bat, the mixability looks really, really good. So if you guys can see, like it's kind of ready. You see the little corner there? That's not sort of this as well. So I guess there's those little clumps there. They didn't mix, but I just sort of did this. I didn't use the ball thing. I don't know if it makes a difference. Yeah, so that's a milk chocolate one, and I made it with almond milk. You can make it with water and actual real milk if you want to, but I just use almond milk because I don't like drinking calories in general. You know what? That's so nice. Because, I don't know if you've had the Optimum Nutrition protein back in the days. It's kind of like that. Do you know the red tub? No one buys it anymore. I've not fucking seen anyone buy it because it's like £300. It's kind of like that, but without the major sweetness. I'm gonna give it another hit. All right. Verdict. This is actually better than the MyProtein. Did you know the chocolate brownie one? The Impact chocolate brownie one is better. It's actually way better. The first thing you get is like a milky sort of flavor, but the cocoa powder comes in first. So initial hit is like a strong cocoa powder, then it goes milky. Really impressed. And there's no clumps, there's no little, do you know how I was sort of panicking kind of with those little bits there on the sides? There's no clumps in there. Okay. Verdict also, by the way, raw protein guys, if you're watching this, are they called raw protein? RawSport Nutrition. If you guys ever watch this for whatever reason, put a scoop in there. There's no scoop. Okay, there's no scoop. I had to literally tip it out because I've thrown my other scoop away. I'm gonna have to go buy some. I did notice actually they do sell it on the website. It's like £5 though. Like, I'm not paying £5 for a scoop. I'd rather just chuck it in manually. But bang on with the nutrition. You know, the flavor. The flavor is really, really good actually. Now, one thing I do need to try this with is my morning oats. Yeah, well, I had to finish it. One thing that I didn't mention is the fact that there's no like strong aftertaste. With every protein, there's like a little sweet taste that you have afterwards, and you have to have sort of like water after, or have something on top. Honestly, it doesn't feel like it. It just literally feels like a glass of milk with that chocolate flavor. So me personally, it's not a lot of price difference. So per kilogram, we're looking at £2-3. But I have, because of them shafting me for years, MyProtein, I think I found the replacement that I'm going to go with. Personally, me, I think this is it. This is it for me for now. I mean, until something else better comes, because your loyalty shouldn't be with a brand. Your loyalty should be with what they offer and the service, the product, and whatever you're putting in needs to be of high quality. And in this instance, it's a small company. It's made in Britain, BPA free, halal certified, kosher certified, gluten free as well, low fat, which is why I said to you grass fed doesn't really make sense, but at least you have that. And low sugar. I mean, we're looking at roughly for each serving, you're looking at about 1 gram of sugar. I mean, it's awesome. I think this is it. This is going to be my new protein. I have tried some cheaper brands. Like I said, PBN I've tried as well. I've tried Iron Max as well right now. And then they all have that like thickener sort of vibe, the feel. When you have it, you know there's something extra stuff in there. So when you look at this, the Iron Max one, for example, we're literally looking at, so we're looking at whey protein, emulsifier. We're looking at soy soy flavoring is separate, so it's something else. I don't know what it is, just as flavoring. Thickener, which is xanthan gum. Anti-caking agent, so they've used for that silicon dioxide, more sweeteners, sucralose, stevia as well, vanilla powder, color, so food color. That's for me, it's a bit of a no-go area. May contain egg and fish. So, I mean, this is basically £10 for 500 grams. So basically £20 per kilo. So this would work out a lot more expensive. So if you're stuck with MyProtein or bulk powders or anyone else, maybe it's time just to zoom out and go do some Googling and see what works for you, because I was under the impression where obviously MyProtein Impact it's always worked, let me just keep buying it. But at some point you have to see, am I still being offered the best product for my money? And am I taking care of my health as much as possible by sticking to a certain brand, especially when it comes to food and drinks? And that was it for me today. If you do want me to review the vanilla powder from the same company, I do have that with me as well. And until next time, catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.